Watching the community come together to create the tallest mural in the world, to engage people in the co-creation of the tallest mural in the world is fundamentally a good conversation to be had.
We did sculpturing, planning the mural.
I painted faces of like a cool design.
The St. Jamestown project is an example of how we're using art to actually undermine some of the entrenched powers and structures that exist in these communities.
You kind of get the impression that art was only for the people who were rich. But art can enhance anyone's life. Whether you're rich, you're poor, wherever you're coming from. A person who is new to calendar can come and see this art and they can get something from it based on their experience.
Back in the early days when this complex was built, St. Jamestown was first class. You never had to lock your doors.
St. Jamestown, it is a concrete jungle.
It starts from the south, Wellesley, from the north, Howard Street, from the west, Surman, and from east, Parliament Street.
It's all these grey towers, social housing for the most part, that really has a big stigma around it.
People say many negative things to me about St. Jamestown.
It took a major slump. I mean, it fell bad.
It's particularly around 200 Wellesley, not a very lively looking place. There wasn't really visually anything to look at.
I call it a special building. I call it a special building because it's unique. Everything is here, you know. Back seeing, good seeing.
All these towers don't really say too much, you know, they're just these grey faces staring at you. We wanted to show what was actually happening in the neighborhood. I mean, because of this density, there's a great diversity there and a lot of great people and community and great things that are happening.
I didn't know what it was because it's a lot of ambulances, 101, fire truck, the police, and I don't know what it was, but I was here.
So I had no idea at that time that, I mean, the fire bells went off for every 2 days, every half hour. So we paid attention to them.
I was standing right across this building and it was burning up. It was really scary.
That building right there, we were on the 21st floor, pretty much the same height as this, and we came up out on the balcony and we saw this horrific sight with flames billowing out from the side of this building here.
It was actually really terrifying because debris was all like kind of falling down.
Everybody was evacuated out of the building.
Old people couldn't get down and they thought that was it.
I trapped in my apartment. Oh, this was terrible. They take 11 hours to stop the fire. It was heavy.
The water coming down the halls, just like Niagara Falls.
All the way down to the first floor, all the water.
It looks like a horror movie.
After 2 days of living in the same clothes with no access to their apartments or things, residents were once again disappointed.
We all had to go over to the community center with nothing. All we had was what we had on.
People were sleeping on the basketball floor.
After the fire was worse than the fire. Every time that fire bell rings, I still think, I wonder, is this real? Before I never did.
Weirdly enough, a few years later, we got contacted to paint this mural.
By virtue of the fact of where we were at the time of the fire, it just all feels like it's all meant to be, and it was sort of planned to be fate.
So STEPS, it stands for Sustainable Thinking and Expression on Public Space. We're an environmental arts organization that's based here in the Center for Social Innovation, and we use art to connect people to public spaces here in Toronto. Our youth programming primarily takes place in some of Toronto's most underserved, diverse communities, largely newcomer populations, folks that are really looking to find a space to share their voice in the city.
The youth talks a lot about how living here, they kind of deal with this duality of knowing that St. Jamestown is a really great community, but then dealing with the stereotypes that come around with it. And so a lot of that came through, you know, how can we kind of show this through the artwork that we want to do.
I worked with the youth for more than a month, deciding with them what kind of a project they wanted to take on, and it was decided that we would do a mural. I thought, well, we might as well see if we can use the entire front of the building. You know, if we're already going to be using equipment and going up that high, why not go the whole way and really make good use of that space? One of the biggest rumors that we had to dispel with this was that the budget was coming from monies that could go towards other things like repairs in the building, which simply isn't true. The money that we received was specifically devoted to public art projects.
So there's been a lot of misconception around where the mural is coming from, and it is a STEPS initiative project as opposed to a Toronto community housing project. And so we've been working a lot with talking to residents and trying to make sure that everyone has the right information about it. It's part of that process of like when you put art out in the public is that you have that conversation about it.
Well, I think there's something to be said that if a project that you're working on doesn't have any challenges and doesn't start kind of challenging conversations, then you're probably not making much change with or having much of an impact with the project.
I painted all my life, so anything to do with art, I'm game, okay? Because it always brings happiness, always.
This building has a history of the fire that happened, and how can we try to bring more of an empowering ending to that story?
The youth wanted to take that negative event and turn it into something positive, just like they wanted to rejuvenate the perception of the neighborhood.
The Phoenix actually came from just all of us putting our ideas together, and we just kind of see it as something that is cultures bringing a bunch of different ideas, everything we've worked for, all bringing it together into one beautiful thing.
Instead of the conversation being about crime or about the fire, let's make that conversation about creating the tallest mural in the world. All of a sudden, all of those patterns that we had start to be disrupted.
One of the most monumental moments for me was when we actually got to start priming this wall, and we finally just cleaned it and started putting primer on it, and it was one of the greatest moments because we all just finally got to put something on the walls. With the negative feedback, it's more of just like not understanding basically, and just after we explain to them like it's that like what we're trying to do, that is not in a negative way, it's just a lot better.
Like a lot of them changed their minds after we explained it to them and gave them more information about it.
Prior to actually starting the painting, we did community consultations and talked to residents and tenants about the mural happening.
I'm not for it, I'm not against it. They had the consultations in the lobby, but we were never able to say, no, we didn't like it. The problem with this whole mural idea is nothing to do with STEPS. It's between, I feel, Toronto Housing and their residents. You feel like you live here, but who cares? So if somebody wants to turn it into a movie set, who cares? We don't get any say at all. And I think that's what people had an issue with. It's the process. Like, we live here.
You can't please everybody, so one or two people don't appreciate it for whatever reasons, but the majority of the community really likes it.
When they get up in that scaffolding, my dear man, I was like, whoa.
It's time to come down when it's windy.
It's a little scary.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, you're kind of shaking and you're a little unsure of your footing.
Some community members were concerned that it would bring negative attention towards the building.
I don't think that this mural beautifies St. Jamestown at all. It basically shows St. Jamestown as a place where you want to come and buy drugs, go look for the building that's got the great big phoenix on the outside of the building.
You see people coming up all the time. Never looked in this building before, I don't blame them. It's brought back some life and class to the building.
When I first looked at the possibility of doing this mural on the full 29 stories, I hadn't seen anything that tall in Toronto or anything that tall in North America for that matter. I looked into it more and just to see, you know, well, maybe we are the tallest in Canada or even North America. And in doing that, I realized that we're actually probably the tallest mural in the world. And so I did even more research and submitted it to Guinness to see if we could get confirmation of that. And it looks like we are in fact the tallest in the world.
I hope it's still the tallest mural in the world in 20 years.
Yeah.
In 20 years, if I were to come back here, I definitely want to see people around it. I'd want to see it being a gathering place. I'd want to see people looking at it and smiling, people actually being proud of it. Like, I live there, just kind of bragging about it. I'd want to see, like, happiness, kind of.
We're in front of the St. Jamestown Community Corner at 200 Wellesley, and today is the official unveiling of our mural, and also we had our official ribbon cutting and images of the mural screen printed, which is happening behind us here. It's officially the tallest mural in the world.
Down by the lake there, you can even see it from all the way down there, so it's just mind-blowing for me, and I'm very appreciative to have this opportunity.
We can actually, like, make the world's tallest mural.
We're hoping that this might set a precedent, and other buildings in this community will want to do the same thing and just bring more art to public space.
It's like, wow, I think it's going to be in the Guinness World Record. Like, it's the world's tallest mirror, and I can't believe that's in our St. Jamestown community.
What this project really demonstrates is how projects that embody joy and happiness and art and creativity and engagement are really that thin edge of the wedge, which is starting the conversations that can change the world.